Hey guys, this is OffTopicGames bringing you another deck profile. This one's on Gear Chronicle, the Time Leap version. It's with the 16G zone, but unfortunately this deck isn't super competitive because I actually bought it for an extremely cheap price and I wanted to make it work and improve on the deck, but I didn't want to spend too much money on it, so it's not competitive, it's really just for fun, but I will go over the cards that can be changed to make it competitive, and yeah, I hope you enjoy it. So for our starter, we run one Metallica Phoenix. People run it at more than one sometimes, and I do understand it. It's a really good card. But the skill is, it's not GB or anything. It can be your first stride. You flip anything, and when it attacks, you time leap a card. It's really good because you get more than one attack. You get a toolbox if you need it, and it's just very helpful. Next we run only 3 next stages. This is where it gets kind of like non-competitive. If you want to be a very competitive player, 4 next stages is key in your competitive Gear Chronicle deck. Unfortunately, I only have 3. What's good to note about this specific card is, or the reason why I'm running 3 is that I'm running Wakey Worker so I can run the technical 4th next stage, or I can use this next stage twice. Otherwise, I'd just be running 2, but this deck's kind of for fun, so I wanted to try it out, and it actually works really well. I'll explain it more in detail along with Metallica Phoenix, how it sets up. And yeah. Next we run Warp Drive Dragon. This is a new card, it's kind of debatable. We run 3. It's Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1. You time leap as many cards as this card is face up. So normally you flip this card face up with Metallica Phoenix, and then stride into this, and then flip this card face up. So in other words, you time leap as many cards as this is face up, and then for as many cards you time leap, you choose that grade or lower and put that unit to the bottom deck from the opponent. So in other words, if you time leap like 3, you choose a grade 3 or lower rear guard on your opponent's side of the field and put it to the bottom of the deck. For Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, the Soul Blast 1 is kind of unfortunate because you need Soul in the deck, but in general it's a pretty good card, I guess. I'm still testing it and we'll see how it goes. Next we run 2 Ragnarclocks. This specific card came with the deck, so it was a pretty good card. It's Counterblast 1 and flip a card face up. If it's the second, if you're a GB2 basically, it gets an extra crit. And then regardless of whether or not you're a GB2, your opponent cannot guard with grade 0s. So it's kind of cool, pretty good card. We run it because it's cool, and we can because it's 16G zone. It's a good card. Next we run Fiery March Colossus. It's kind of the same as Ragnarclock. It's a guard restrict, but what it does is you Counterblast 1 when it attacks. You put one of your cards to the bottom of your deck, and then spin one of your opponents. Your opponent cannot guard with the grade that they put to the bottom that you chose. So it's a pretty good card. It's a bit more versatile because it doesn't have to flip a copy, but it's kind of I guess dependent on what your opponent has on the field, and it doesn't get a crit. Both those cards are not as good as they were before because of G Guardian, which makes it so they can guard with technically anything, because G Guardians aren't affected by like guard restrict basically. Anyways, we run 1 Fate Rider. Fate Rider is a skill where you can not time leap a card. You basically toolbox one of your cards. You put one to the deck, and then call one with like 1 grade higher, I believe. And then you give plus 3,000 power for each unit face up. Yeah, so it's just a general toolbox card. It's a really good card that you can use when you don't have Counterblast and you're running into strides or something. But yeah. Lastly, for our actual strides, we run 1 Sabreeze. Sabreeze is a really good card in this deck. What it does is Counterblast 2, discard any card. And if you're at grade 3 and your opponent is at grade 2 and did not ride last turn, you stride this card. This helps Gears a lot because what a very viable strategy for the deck was you grade lock yourself so that Gears couldn't really do anything because the majority of the effects are GB1. But now it's not a viable strategy anymore, and they can't really do that against Gear Chronicle. So this card makes it happen. As for our strides, we do not run Chronos Command Revolution and Chronos Command because I don't have it. If I did, I'd put it in, but I just didn't have it so it's not there. what it would probably take out or replace, I assume, would either be the 3 Warp Drive Dragons or Ragnarok / Fate Rider / Colossus. It really depends. I'm not too sure how I enjoy Warp Drive yet. It's not a very aggressive card, it's more toolboxy. But Metallica Phoenix is toolboxy as well. So it really just depends. I just don't have it at the moment, unfortunately. For our G Guardians, we run Uluru. It's actually really good for Gear Chronicle and this deck as a whole. So we run three of it out of the 4 G Guardians. This specific one, it gets plus 5,000 power if you put a trigger back and a normal unit back. What's good about this is you put any normal unit back. So you can put back your combo pieces. If you use TikTok Worker, you can you Soul Blast it, so you put TikTok Worker back, and then you can search for it again. So overall, this card is really strong. Probably one of the best clan G Guardians that we have so far in terms of English. Next we run 1 Dismal. Dismal is probably the strongest Cray Elemental G Guardian. It has Resist, which is good. Helps against Deeplease, I guess. And then also, the main reason I guess why I'd use it is, when you G Guard with it, you choose one of your rear guards. It cannot be hit, or it cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects. So in other words, you can use this, and if they're swinging at a Dote with a Dote, or a Laurel, or a Deeplease Vanguard with Laurel behind it, you can use this, and it's like a PG for 1 card or 1 heal. It's really good. And yeah, it's just a very strong card. Anyways, for our actual deck, we run TikTok Worker. In my opinion, this is the best starter. It's a pretty simple effect. When your rear guard attacks, you can put this in the soul. If you do Time Leap that unit, it combos really well with Upstream and Malem. I'll show you guys the main combo that revolves around this deck that I like to get off normally. But yeah. Generally, I believe that this deck revolves around the starter a lot, and if it gets killed, it kind of hurts the deck a lot. But that's because this deck isn't very competitive. If it was competitive, I think it'd revolve around the starter a little bit less. But regardless, this starter is very important for this deck. Next, for our grade 3s, we run 4 Chrono Jets. One is signed, and then one is the different art, I guess. They're all foil. Anyways, what this card does is, it's a GB2 effect. Basically, when it attacks, it gets plus 5,000 power, and your opponent cannot guard with grade 1s and above. And then also, Counterblast 1, when a unit is strode onto this card, you can spin a card on your opponent's side of the field back to their deck, to the bottom of their deck. So this card's pretty good. Not much to say. It works really well with next stage because it has to be this card. And then also, Metallica Phoenix, I believe, needs a Chrono Jet Heart. Next we run 3 Steam Fighter Bale. It's basically your Chrono Jet for Counterblast 1. If you are on this card, and you stride, you can Counterblast 1 and then ride Chrono Jet as your heart. Then put this card back to the bottom of the deck. Also, as a GB1 effect, when this unit hits, if it's on the rear guard and it hits, you can, I believe, spin a unit back to the bottom of the deck from the front row. So yeah. I run 3. I don't run 7 grade 3s because I need the space for grade 2s. And in general, it's not that bad. I'm debating on whether or not to push it back up to 8 grade 3s. And I'll tell you what I cut if I do. For our grade 2s, we run 4 History Makers. History Makers is one of the very important pieces of our deck. It's a very strong card, and there's not much else to say. What it does, it's a GB1 effect, 9k base. Counterblast 1, when this card attacks the Vanguard, you choose another one of your rear guards and Time Leap it. It's really strong. That's all I have to say about this card. It's just really good. I run 4 because it's a good card, and it's a combo piece card, so that's why I'm running 4 of it. 2 Relic Master Dragons. The reason why this is here is because it's kind of like a counter rush card. It's basically a Berserk clone, and Gears don't have that many good grade 2s and stuff, but this card works because if they rush you, and because you can't do anything until GB1, this can help you because it's not GB specific. So that's why there's 2 of those and only 2 of those. We also run Calibum, which is pretty much the same thing, but instead it's an 8k and it's free, but you choose a card from your opponent's field, put it back to the deck, and they call a grade 1 less than the card they put back. So if you put a grade 0, they take nothing back and they just shuffle the deck. If you chose a grade 1, they choose a grade 0, and so forth and so forth. So yeah, this card's also pretty good. What's good to note about this effect is mandatory, so you have to do it on call. This can be a little bit problematic because, for example, you can use this card and then time leave this card, and at the end phase, when it goes back to the field, you use this effect again, and it's mandatory. So it might screw over you because let's say you choose a grade 2 because you're forced to do this, and they call like a Rising Phoenix and they draw a card, or any other on-call effects like Photon, Colony Maker, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, this card can mess you up a little bit. Just be wary about this card. Yeah. Next we run 3 Upstream. It's a basic, it can be like a 12k attacker, but I really like this card actually because it runs away. So what I do with this card, what it does is, when you attack, you can make it gain like plus 4k, so it's 13k base attacker. And then it goes back to the deck, shuffles, and then you search for a grade 1 and call it in rest. What I really like about this effect is you use it, make it run away, and fill full space for more attacks. Again, I'll get into it later. Next we run 112k attacker. It's a GV1 12k attacker. The reason why I'm running this card is because generally when you want to push, but you don't want to use Upstream, this card is very helpful as a 12k attacker by itself. I only run one of it. So far it's kind of iffy. I still get it. It might be changed for the 8th grade 3, but we'll see for now. For now, this is just a solid card. Next we run for Steam Breath Dragon. It's your Stride Fodder and search for Chrono Jet. We only run 7 grade 3, so 4 should be a must generally, and this deck revolves around striding. So yeah. Again, this is where this deck becomes not very competitive. We run 4 regular Perfect Guards. I'd preferably want this card to be Arlim or the Unflipper PG, but they're expensive, kind of expensive I guess, and I just don't have them. So these are working out okay. It kind of helps because you can guard the rear guards, but Dismal does it for you, and this card is just, it's whatever. It's okay. If you want it to be super competitive, then you want Arlims for sure. Next we run 3 Malem. This is a combo piece, but you run only 3 of it because it can be kind of weird sometimes. Regardless, this card is very strong. It's basically your Upstream, but for grade 1. When you swing, it gains plus 4k. When this card attacks a Vanguard, it gets plus 4k, and then you can put it back to the bottom, or you can put it back to your deck, call grade 0 and rest, and shuffle the deck. Again, I'll go over the combos later. There's 2 of the basic Unflipper. It's a whenever you whenever you put an opponent's card back to the deck, you unflip a card if your heart is Chrono Jet. I run this card because Counterblast can be an issue, but this card helps you out because if you have 2 on the field, which I have 2, and these cards are technically tutorable, you can unflip a card whenever you stride basically, and put a card back to the deck. So in other words, you Counterblast 1 for Chrono Jet skill, then you unflip 2 if you have 2 on the field. Next we run a GG. This card is the basic 5k Soul Blast 2 draw card. It's just here because it's tutorable, and then you can do it twice in one turn. Like, let's say you call it, Soul Blast 2 draw card, and if you have 4 soul, you can like time leap this card, and at the end phase it calls back, so you can do this skill again. Lastly, for our triggers, again, this is where it gets kind of weird because it's not competitive. We run 8 crits. Notice that none of these are the Heart Thumps. Again, it's because I just don't have them, and they're kind of a luxury card, but it's really strong for the deck. What it does, it's Heart Thump is you can move it soul, your Vanguard gets plus 5,000, you draw a card. It's really good for the next stage play, but I just don't have them. Yeah, regardless, we run 7 crits. 7 crits. You'll see why. We run 1 Urwater. This card is very strong as a stand trigger, and it is a 1-of because it's searchable. What it does is when this card is sent to the bind zone, you can put it to the bottom of the deck, draw 2 cards, and put 1 back to the bottom, and then shuffle. So in other words, you basically put 2 back, put this card back, and then put 1 back. In other words, you draw a card basically, but you can choose which card you draw, kind of, and which card to put back. So in other words, let's say I use this card, I draw like 2 random cards, and then if I have like a draw trigger in my hand or a heal trigger in my hand, I can put it back to the deck. It's very nice. Next, as I said before, we run this card. It's Wakey Worker. It is searchable. I run this card because I run 3 next stages. What it does is after it boosts and the attack was... in other words, when this unit is boosted, it's a GB1 effect. You put one of your strides face down, or G units face down from face up. So yeah, it makes next stage reusable basically. Next we run 3 draw triggers. This is the good draw trigger. It's the Margot clone. Put in soul, give a unit plus 3000. And lastly we run 4 heals because G Guardian's good and heals are strong. So let's get into the basic combos of this deck. I'll show you the main one, and you can just follow with me here. So normally we stride Metallica Phoenix. We obviously has Chronojet as our heart. And here's the strongest play in the deck basically, or the main one that you want. Let me just get random cards here. Actually, it has to be very specific. What's good to note about this deck is it can go off, or the combo that I'm about to show you can go off even if you have like none of the combo pieces. As long as you have your starter, it's a very important card. But regardless, I'll just show you what, without using the starter, what can happen. So this is your field. This is before attack, and you're running the 2 stand triggers. So you're running this card, and you're running... Let's say that you have 3 next stages or something, so you're running this card. If you're not running this card, I'd suggest running 2 TikTok Workers because it's very good. And then instead of this card searching, you can search TikTok Worker again. Regardless, so you swing with this card, it's an 11. This unit goes back to the deck, calls this card. Then you swing with the Vanguard, 31. Use Metallica Phoenix's skill, bind this card. Recall Malem in stand. Use this card skill, draw 2. This unit goes to the bottom, choose a card from your hand, put deck, shuffle the deck. Then you drive check, hope you don't drive check this card. Or I guess your other stand trigger. Then also hope your opponent didn't damage check, or else whatever, but regardless you still get pluses. So you do this again, swing for 11. Search this again. This goes back to the deck. Use History Maker skill, Counterblast 1, time leap this card, do it again, call Malem, this card skill activates, put it back, draw 2, put 1 back, shuffle, and then this card skill swings, again. Lastly, you call out your extra TikTok Worker, or this card, you call it back to the field, this card goes back to the bottom. Next turn you stride next stage. Next stage is here. So basically what you do is next stage, you call a rear guard here. It doesn't matter what it is, I'll just put a random card here. So this is, let's say your field or something next turn. You swing with next stage, do your stuff, restand. And then what you want to do is you swing with next stage again, and then swing with this boosted, and because this is here, you, because next stage went back to the deck and it's back to the G zone face up, use this card skill, put it back to the deck, shuffle, and then you flip a next stage face down. So now you have 2 next stages face down, and you can do it again. Overall, this deck is super strong. I'll show you an instance where you have nothing and you can still get off the first combo relatively well. So let's say you're on this card and you have nothing, no combo pieces in your hand whatsoever, but you have a trigger. 1 trigger is all you need to make this combo activate. You call it here. Preferably, more boosters is fine, but you don't need it per se. You basically, what you do, because TikTok's a broken card, or just really strong card, you swing with this card, activate. Oh no, sorry, you just swing with this card. Swing with Metallica Phoenix. Use this card's skill. Time leap a card. So in other words, time leap your trigger. Call Malem. Malem is here, so now you have one combo piece, but you don't have History Maker. Well, what you can do is after this card swings, you swing with your Malem, and then use the TikTok worker skill. So you put it back to the deck. This card goes to the bind zone, and you call one card grade 2, or you call grade 2, right? So you call History Maker. And then you can still use Malem skill because it gained the +4. So it does not go back to the deck, it stays in the bind zone, but you still get your grade 0. So you get your grade 0, the Urwater. When I find it, sorry, hold on. But yeah, in other words, you get your Urwater, and then you use History Maker. What's good to note is that you need another Malem in the deck to do the Malem thing again, which is why I run 3 Malems, because I don't want them to go in. Even if one goes into damage or I drive check it, I still have one more to play in case something goes wrong, basically. Or I just need this combo to work, because this combo really sets the pace for the deck. It generally just helps a lot, and you basically get a lot of your pluses from the deck. So yeah, you basically just call this, time leap this, right? Call Malem again, and go to work. What's good to note about time leap and the mechanics behind it is, because you time leaped Malem into this card, because the card that was time leaped is this card, it goes back to the deck and you still get this card off, and it does not go back to the deck. Also, because you time leaped with this card, but the Malem that you called cannot go back to the deck, this card will stay in the bind zone. So it's very important to know that and not kind of cheat your opponent or misplay on accident, but knowledge is key, and then you just have to kind of understand the rulings behind time leap and stuff. But yeah, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed and liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment if you have any questions or inquiries. I know time leap is kind of confusing. If you have any questions about the rulings, I'll be happy to answer them in the comments below if you ask. And yeah, also we have a Facebook page and a Twitter page now. I'll leave them in description, the links. Please check them out, and I'll see you all next time.